Dale Earnhardt had died in a final lap crash at the Daytona 500 19 years ago tomorrow. The biggest name in NASCAR hit the wall basically head on, died after an impact.
2001 Daytona 500, you, obviously me and the Earnhardt family, Schrader, there's all kinds of people that are part of that story.
First, it sounded as false news until people saw the crash and discovered it was true and devastating. Over 20 years after this accident, people still remember this legend of car racing who redefined the sport and made it uniquely engaging. His demise shocked the whole world, including his family and close friends, one of which is Sterling Marlin, whose career almost went down the drain. So, what may have happened? And what did Sterling reveal about Dale's tragic passing that was so disturbing? Hang on, because we are about to look into the story of the legend and answer a lot of controversial questions. The final lap, when the Intimidator fell. On the bright afternoon of the 18th of February, 2001, the legendary Dale Earnhardt, a legend of stock car racing and team owner, found himself in a heart-stopping final lap of the 2001 Daytona 500. In a very dramatic twist of fate, he collided with Sterling Marlin and Ken Schrader, sending him crashing into a wall. Unfortunately, the race and life came to a tragic end for Dale, whom the doctors pronounced dead shortly after at Halifax Medical Center, due to a basilar skull fracture that proved instantly fatal. The clock struck 5:16 p.m. EST when the world heard of his passing. At just 49 years old, Dale's departure left a deep hole in the hearts of racing fans all over the world. His funeral took place just 4 days later at Calvary Church in Charlotte, North Carolina, and mourners from all corners of the racing community came to honor him. Dale was the fourth NASCAR driver to pass due to a fatal head injury within just 8 months, after the tragic losses of Adam Petty, Kenny Irwin Jr., and Tony Roper. His demise, which was broadcast live to more than 17 million viewers, sent shockwaves through the entire world, and it led to a lot of safety reforms in NASCAR that would change the sport forever for safety's sake. Interestingly, just a few weeks before the Daytona 500, Dale made headlines by skipping the annual fan and media preview event, which drew some sharp criticism from his fellow driver named Jimmy Spencer. But in a surprising twist, on the 3rd and 4th of February 2001, he decided to dive into the Rolex 24 endurance race at Daytona for the very first time in his career. He teamed up with his son, Dale Jr. Alongside Kelly Collins and Andy Pilgrim, they charged their way to a remarkable 4th place overall and 2nd in class. It was a fitting tribute to the legacy of a racing icon, with a combination of determination and a touch of family spirit on the track. On race day morning, Dale Earnhardt exuded a cool confidence, ready to tackle the competition. He quickly established himself as a front-runner, even leading 17 laps. The first 3 quarters of the race were relatively uneventful, with only 2 caution flags. The first waved on lap 49, when Jeff Purvis hit the wall, and the second on lap 157, when rookie Kurt Busch drove into the wall while trying to overtake Joe Nemechek. By lap 173, Dale had found himself in 7th place, while his teammates, Michael Waltrip in the blue number 15, Chevrolet and his son in the red number 8, were holding the top 2 spots. But then, there was a massive crash on the back straightaway, taking out a total of 18 cars in a spectacular fashion. Among those caught in the mishap were Jason Leffler, Steve Park, Rusty, and Kenny Wallace, and even Jeff Gordon, who went on to be the 2001 Winston Cup champion. It all started when Robbie Gordon clashed with Ward Burton as they exited Turn 2. The chain reaction sent Tony Stewart airborne after being hit, flipping him twice, before he landed dangerously on Bobby Labonte's hood. Meanwhile, Burton's car spun out, collecting most of the field behind him. Miraculously, Dale, Ron Hornaday Jr., Ricky Rudd, Ken Schrader, and Mike Wallace managed to escape the havoc. The race was promptly red-flagged to allow for cleanup, a great reminder of the unpredictable nature of racing. Between the chaotic crash on lap 173 and the restart on lap 180, Dale had a moment to chat with his pit crew over the radio. Richard Childress, the owner of Earnhardt's car, recalls one of Dale's poignant remarks. "Richard, if they don't do something to these cars, it's gonna end up killing somebody." A warning that echoed the very real dangers of the sport. Despite the gravity of the situation, Dale remained optimistic, laughing with his teammates, Michael Waltrip and Dale Jr., right up to the end. When the race resumed on lap 180, both Michael and Dale Jr. were leading the pack, with Earnhardt Sr. hot on their heels. Sterling Marlin, a close friend of Dale who competed in the Gatorade duel, took the lead for a brief stint. But the lead kept shifting back and forth between Michael and Dale Jr. as the laps ticked down. As they got close to the finish line, they both held the top two spots, with Dale strategically blocking Sterling's attempts to sneak past. With less than 2 laps to go, a Fox commentator named Darrell Waltrip talked about his struggles, saying, "Sterling had beat the front end off of that old Dodge just trying to get around Dale Earnhardt, Sr." It was a testament to the incredible competition and the relentless spirit of racing. This accident happened dramatically in the 4th turn, which was the final turn of the last lap, when Dale made a little contact with Sterling Marlin, causing him to slide off course. To regain control, he turned back onto the track, but crossed right in front of Ken Schrader, and it led to a collision that dragged both cars up the track. Dale then crashed headfirst into the retaining wall at an estimated speed of 155 to 160 miles per hour. A really brutal impact that shattered the right rear wheel immediately. As soon as the impact was made, his hood pins severed, sending the hood flying up and slamming against the windshield repeatedly. As Michael and his son raced close to the finish line, the two shattered cars slid down the steep banking into the infield grass, with other drivers managing to pass without incident. Once the cars stopped, Ken climbed out unharmed and rushed over to check on Dale. With his window net still up, Ken pulled it down and, with fear in his eyes, called out for paramedics who wasted no time arriving on the scene. In a somber and fearful tone, Ken later said, "We've got bigger problems. Look, I'm not a doctor. I'm telling you it doesn't look good." His very short interview after being released from the infield care center was one of the first signs that the situation was very serious. It wasn't until the 10th anniversary that he finally stated, "When I went up to the car, I knew he was dead, yeah. I didn't want to be the one who said, 'Dale is dead.'" As the chaos kept unfolding, the race officials waved the checkered and yellow flags simultaneously as the front runners crossed the finish line, unaware of the crash behind them. Michael came out as first, with Dale Jr. finishing as second, also oblivious to the incident. Rusty Wallace, despite having taken damage in the earlier crash, came out as the third, followed by Ricky Rudd, Bill Elliott, Mike Wallace, Sterling Marlin, Bobby Hamilton, Jeremy Mayfield, and Stacy Compton, rounding out the top 10. Although Dale and Ken did not complete the final lap, the authorities awarded them 12th and 13th places, respectively, highlighting the day's unexpected twists and the long green flag runs that had characterized the race. According to NASCAR rules, any driver involved in a crash but cannot make it back to the pits or needs to be withdrawn must report to the infield hospital. In severe situations, they may rush them directly to a nearby trauma center. Tragically, Dale Earnhardt needed to be extricated immediately by Daytona's safety teams and was taken by ambulance to Halifax Medical Center, and the distance was just 2 miles from the speedway. Unfortunately, he was pronounced dead upon arrival. The Volusia County Medical Examiner later stated that the cause of death was blunt force trauma to his head, compounded by a fatal basilar skull fracture from the impact. Less than 2 hours after the accident, NASCAR President Mike Helton delivered the heartbreaking news of his passing. Some investigators later predicted that his car struck the concrete retaining wall at a perilous angle of 55 to 59 degrees, traveling at an estimated speed of 157 to 161 miles per hour. The impact generated a crash impulse lasting around 80 milliseconds, which resulting in a dramatic change in velocity of approximately 42 to 44 miles per hour. To put it in perspective, the force he experienced can be compared to falling from a height of 61.8 feet. Subsequent tests on similar vehicles revealed G-forces ranging from -68 to -48 G, depending on how the measurements were taken and underscoring the brutality of the crash. It was so fast and terrible, and as expected, it brought about a lot of reactions from the fans and people all over the world, especially as regards the reason for his demise and what the officials and other drivers had to say about it. Let's hop into the reactions to the passing of Dale before going into what Sterling said. Reactions to the reasons for Dale's demise. After the tragic passing of Dale, the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing has made very important decisions to promote intense safety measures, especially concerning safety harnesses and head and neck support systems, which professionals and investigators linked to the circumstances of Dale's death. It's a sobering thought that these improvements could have potentially saved lives if they had been implemented earlier. Some investigations that surrounded his unfortunate crash have often focused on the lack of sufficient head and neck support at the time of the collision, and that was a reminder of the important need for progress in driver safety. The implementation of safety protocols in NASCAR stands as both a tribute to Earnhardt's legacy and a strong dedication to protecting future drivers. Mike Helton, the president of the prestigious association, summoned the courage to talk about the unsettling details which surrounded Dale's tragic accident, stating, "We don't know how, why, or when, but when the rescue people reached him, they found part of the belt loose on the floor. Somehow, the webbing had separated." Also, Gary Nelson, the Winston Cup Series director, said that this was unprecedented in the series' 52-year history. He refused to state whether the woven nylon belt had been cut, worn through, or frayed, further emphasizing the rarity of such an occurrence. Dr. Steve Bohannon, the emergency medical officer at Daytona International Speedway, emphasized the potential importance of the broken belt. He explained that it could have been a major factor in Earnhardt's death during the final lap. He also added, "It appears that Dale moved forward and to the right, which likely caused his chin to contact the steering wheel with a tremendous impact." He then acknowledged the fact that if the belt remained intact, it was possible he would not have made contact with the steering column, thus preventing his demise. At 49, he passed immediately from blunt force head injuries. The injuries he incurred included a skull fracture that extended from the front to the back of his brain, 8 broken ribs, a broken sternum, and a broken left ankle. Richard Childress, the owner of Earnhardt's Chevrolet Monte Carlo, established that the car was new, built in November, and that its belts were installed at that time. "It's the same belt Dale has worn forever," Childress said, expressing his disbelief and shock from the crash and the subsequent investigation into safety protocols in the sport. Another significant factor in Dale's fatal accident was his choice of an old-fashioned open-face helmet, used by only a few drivers. Dr. Steve Bohannon said, "Had Mr. Earnhardt been wearing a full-face helmet, It would have prevented him from being hit directly on the chin. Steve also expressed his support for head restraints like the HANDS device, designed to improve safety in high-speed crashes. But he cautioned that he wasn't convinced the HANDS device would have made a difference in this particular case. At the time of the Daytona 500, only 7 drivers were using the HANDS device, even though several others indicated plans to adopt it for upcoming races. Steve also added, even though the broken belt and the open face helmet contributed to the blow Mr. Earnhardt took, there still would have been other injuries from such an impact. This incident emphasized the urgent need for improved safety measures and equipment in the sport, also prompting discussions that would eventually lead to significant changes in driver safety standards. This belt was manufactured by Simpson Safety Products, which was a well-established supplier of NASCAR safety equipment based in Mooresville, NC. It was part of a multiple restraint system designed for race cars, which included a shoulder harness connected to the chassis at the rear of the vehicle. Also, Bill Simpson, the owner of the company, expressed his sorrow over the loss of Dale. It is distressing to lose a good friend and great competitor like Dale Earnhardt. It was also distressing to hear this morning that a seatbelt that we produced came apart during his fatal crash. With more than 43 years of experience in testing and producing seatbelts for motorsports, Simpson talks about how uncommon the failure is. We have never seen a seatbelt come apart in the manner that occurred. Our seatbelts, when properly installed, won't fail. He also stated that their belts were designed to withstand crashes at speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour. In light of the accident, the NASCAR president named Mike Helton announced that no rule changes would be made for the upcoming race. If we knew there was something that we could do, we'd do it. At this point, we don't have a conclusion. We simply want everyone to know what we found. This decision indicated the uncertainty surrounding the incident and the dedication to ensuring driver safety in the future. Now, after exploring the reactions to the legend's shocking passing, one person felt the heat of this reaction, alongside trying to deal with the sudden demise of his friend. The media and the public also contributed to the hurt he went through, and he eventually had to speak up. Let's go into full details about what Sterling faced and what he finally revealed. The blame game. Sterling Marlin's role in Dale's demise. Sterling was taken aback when he returned home after the Daytona 500 and discovered people blamed him for the crash that claimed Dale's life. As he thought back to that day and the whole situation, he said, "The first thing, you go in and turn the news on, and some reporter is on TV saying that the vicious tap that I gave Dale Earnhardt sent him into the wall. You just want to climb right into the TV and pull the guy out of there." He thought everything would end quickly, but the backlash skyrocketed quickly. The day after the tragic race, his website was filled with hateful emails, and threats against him and his family were sent to his race shop in Mooresville, NC. In the first comments he made after that tragedy, he said, "Maybe people are frustrated and just looking for somebody to blame. I'd do anything not to be here today, to not address this subject." Marlin appealed to the public's sense of reason, urging, "If people just come back to their senses, listen to what everybody's saying and watch the tape, that's all I ask." His plea underscored the intense emotions and complexities surrounding the incident, a reminder of the pressures faced by drivers in the aftermath of such tragedies. In his defense, he expressed his innocence, calling what happened an innocent race that turned bad. "I definitely didn't do anything intentional. We were just racing our guts out on the last lap of the Daytona 500, he explained. As he reflected on the incident, he said, "I've only seen the tape once, for me, but from what I saw, it was a totally racing accident." Sterling narrated how Kenny Schrader pulled up to create a 3-wide situation, with Sterling on the bottom. Some other guys were closing fast, and I think Rusty, Wallace, got up on him and got him loose. Dale's and my cars barely touched, and it sent my car across the apron, and Dale's too. He overcorrected, and then I didn't see him again. Remarkably, Sterling managed to keep his car straight and finished 5th in the race. It was pure luck I caught it. When you run across the apron at Daytona at 180 miles an hour, you usually don't come back. His admission spoke to the unpredictable and chaotic nature of racing, especially during the intense final moments of a major event. Immediately after the whole saga, Sterling faced a lot of online threats and hateful emails, which led to a temporary shutdown of his website and increased security measures at his race shop. Chip Ganassi Racing Team spokeswoman Gigi Liberati stated the seriousness of the situation but did not provide specific details about the threats or security protocols, stating that every threat thrown at him needed to be taken seriously. However, the tide started to turn for Sterling as the hate mail he received turned to messages of support and encouragement. I didn't look at the computer, but I heard it did have some pretty bad stuff on it. Today, I heard it was all reversed. The calls I got, there wasn't a negative call from anybody. Sterling did all he could to support NASCAR's decision to proceed with the race in Rockingham, NC, saying that Dale would want them to go into it 100%. So he would support this with everything he could. He acknowledged the mixed emotions he felt, but emphasized the instinctive nature of getting back into the car. Once you're in the car, nobody is messing with you. Although no serious injuries occurred in a separate 19-car pileup during the race, the new aerodynamic rules implemented by NASCAR to enhance on-track competition were under scrutiny. Sterling appreciated the new aero package that allowed for better passing at Daytona and Talladega, but recognized the dangers of having the field bunched up at high speeds. He said, "One small slip by one driver can lead to disaster." Still speaking about the whole situation, he mentioned a conversation with another driver named Jeff Burton about the need for solutions. He recalled that he said, "How are you going to fix it? You've got to fix it somehow." They also talked about the importance of finding a way for the best handling cars to separate from those that don't handle as well. The discussion also included the head and neck support, Hans device, which they designed to prevent excessive neck movement in the event of an impact. In spite of its importance, only a few drivers were using it, surprisingly, and this raised a lot of questions about its wider adoption for enhanced driver safety, one of which was, why are so few people using something that could save lives? Beyond that, Sterling acknowledged his concerns about the Hans device because he felt it might affect his field of vision while racing and his ability to exit the car in an emergency. Despite these issues, he said he was just going to take a look at it and try it out, encouraging all drivers to do the same. Now, we have examined what he had to say about the situation surrounding his friend's demise. Let's deeply examine the lasting legacy of the legend and how his story of being a hero still circulates around the world. Let's get into that quickly. The lasting legacy of Dale. For those who question Dale's legacy, it is crucial to understand the context that shaped his impact. A lot of younger fans didn't see him as the rough-hewn rookie of the 1970s, as a kid from a working-class background who struggled with media appearances but had a strong drive on the track. They also could not capture the moments when he clashed with racing legends like Richard Petty, Cale Yarborough, and Bobby Allison, often ruffling feathers with his bold, fearless racing style. This brash young man did things more than just competition. He challenged the established stars, taking their stock car kingdom by storm. His tenacity and attitude helped to redefine NASCAR, making him a figure of admiration and controversy, cementing his legacy as one of the sport's greatest icons. A lot of fans today may have missed iconic moments like Dale's legendary pass in the grass in 1987, where he outsmarted Jeff Bodine and Bill Elliott to win the NASCAR All-Star race. They might not know about the time at Richmond when he told his team he was going off the radio, only to drive by them on pit road, climbing out of the window to clean his windshield while steering with his knees. Or the unforgettable Bristol incident in 1995 when he wrecked Rusty Wallace and Terry Labonte, smirking at Rusty as the future Hall of Famer angrily threw a water bottle at him. One of his most memorable quotes came when asked about rumors of the sanctioning body slowing down the cars. "If you're not a race driver, stay home. Don't come here and grumble about going too fast. Get the hell out of the race car if you've got feathers on your legs and butt. Put a kerosene rag around your ankles so the ants won't climb up and eat that candy ass." He also embodied the rebellious spirit that Hollywood sought to recreate in the movie titled Days of Thunder through the character Rowdy Burns. Even filmmakers spoke to him about playing the role himself, believing that no one else could capture his character and essence. His impressive persona and strong competitiveness solidified his status as a racing legend, leaving an indelible mark on the sport. He was also a man of many nicknames, like Ironhead, One Tough Customer, the Man in Black, and the Intimidator. To add to these qualities, he was also an affectionate father and husband. 20 years later, his son said, "He's dead and has been gone for 20 years. The stories, you've heard 'em all, right? But maybe you haven't." Dale was the first among professional athletes and the first auto racer to license his image and signature. Despite dropping out of high school, a decision he later referred to as his greatest regret, he built a business empire that was estimated to be worth $500 million at the time of his death. He established his own merchandise company and ended up managing souvenir sales for nearly all of NASCAR's stars, including his strongest rivals. Even a decade after his passing, he remained the second best-selling driver in merchandise, just behind his son. Throughout his career, he won 34 races at Daytona, including the prestigious 1998 Daytona 500, and claimed victory 9 times at Darlington Raceway. His record 10 wins at Talladega Superspeedway highlighted his dominance, with the final of his 76 career victories coming in 2000, which was an extraordinary comeback from 18th to 1st in the last 6 laps of the race, capping off a runner-up finish in the championship standings at age 49. His toughness was worthy of emulation. He raced with broken collarbones and legs, winning the pole at Watkins Glen, despite a separated sternum. He was as rugged off the track as he was on it, knocking down trees with a bulldozer and working his farm, tossing hay bales around even when he could have easily hired help. He often pulled his truck over to shoot deer on his property, spotting them from distances that others in the vehicle couldn't even see. His relentless spirit and fierce dedication to both racing and his personal life solidified his status as a true icon. Mike Helton, the former NASCAR president, once remarked, "Someone will ask me, explain to us Dale Earnhardt. Explaining Dale, that's like trying to explain John Wayne or Neil Armstrong or other heroes from that era that you can no longer experience. But you still try to explain it, because there was no one else like him, never will be." Even on a cold day in February, visitors continue to go to the Dale Earnhardt statue in Kannapolis. These visitors typically come in pairs, sometimes an older race fan accompanied by a young one. The elder takes time to share stories as they point to the statue located in Dale Earnhardt Plaza, just off Dale Earnhardt Boulevard. This place sits between Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, his glass-covered headquarters known as the Garage Mahal, and Car Town, where his mother still resides to this day. The statue stands very close to the site of the textile mill where Dale's father once walked off the job to pursue racing full-time. Nearby is a roadside cemetery where Ralph rests beneath a headstone adorned with an etching of his race car. The mill site has since transformed into a minor league ballpark, home to the Kannapolis Cannonballers, a team Earnhardt once co-owned. The team was known as the Intimidators then, and its daredevil mascot still sports a mustache reminiscent of Earnhardt's iconic look. This combination of local landmarks and memories continues to keep Dale's legacy alive, encouraging connections between generations of fans. I love to stop by there, and I love when people tell me about going by there. Dale Jr. describes the renovated area that surrounds his father's statue, which is the centerpiece of what the local tourism board promotes as the Dale Trail. However, he adds, "But you know, land becomes valuable. Land finds new purpose. Statues like that are moved to other locations and could disappear altogether one day, so I don't invest a lot of emotion in it." Instead, he tries to focus on tangible connections to his father. He shares items, photographs, whatever I can find that keeps me connected to Dad, and I have invested a lot in that. Just ask Amy. Speaking of their last moments together, he said, "We had a moment on pit road during the 2001 Daytona 500 when he grabs me by the neck and says, 'Hey man, we've got good cars. Take care of your car, and we're going to have some good finishes.'" And that was like a super dad moment. When they were having that conversation, they did not know that would be the last time they would speak. The Earnhardts thought the 18th of February, 2001, was just another race day, but in just 3 hours, his life would change forever. To this day, the impact still lingers in his family, his friends, and world racing platforms. What do you think about what Sterling finally revealed about Dale's tragic passing? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. To enjoy more exciting videos, click play on the video on your screen. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified when a new video drops.